We can say Mini Vandanam, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Om Jnana Timarandasya Ginanjana Shalakaya Chaksun Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Well, let us begin. And I hope that everyone has many questions. This is a very informal get together, and it's for all of the devotees. Everyone is carrying something inside, and there's a theme, but even if you have something that you feel like is a treasure inside you that you want to share, it can be on any theme. But this one tonight is given by our dear Seva Rupadidi, and it's give up the conception that Guru is immortal, not immortal, that he is a mortal, one who is of this world, one who passes away. And actually this exact expression is from the third offense to the holy name, to consider one's guru to be a mortal person, and to show disrespect in so many ways. So Srila Gurudev's own prayer that he distributes with initiation, or anytime somebody would like to understand more about how to avoid offense to the holy names, Srila Gurudev has this wonderful prayer. It's in all of the songbooks, Das Vida Nama Parad. And number 3 is Guru Krishna Rupahana Shastrara Pramani, Guru Rupe Krishna Kripa Kari Bhagavani, Se Guru Te Marchabudi Avagnadi Chaji, Istalabhakara Nirantara Namabaji. The scriptures confirm that Guru is a form of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:17-27. In the form of Guru, Krishna bestows his mercy upon the fortunate. Give up the conception that Guru is immortal and all other types of disrespect, and attain your cherished goal, serving the name eternally. And so at first thought, I find that it's very easy to say, of course we don't think that our guru is an ordinary person, but consider who we're comparing it to. We are raised to believe that a great person is, a great musician or a politician or somebody from history or a great athlete. And so naturally, when we meet our guru, and there's so much more than that kind of qualification, it may strike us, there's no way we could consider our guru ordinary. He's far above anybody else that I've ever thought of as be even a little bit extraordinary. However, what the Shastras are telling us about Guru, it's necessary for us to learn more, because this means he's not ordinary compared to, this verse actually means he's the sum total of all of the demigods. He represents all of the demigods. And that's never said about even a demigod, that they represent all of them. So how does our guru represent all of the demigods? And how is our guru compared to the great personalities who are not from this world at all? So this is why we are to learn more about who our guru is, and to be completely protected from thinking for a moment that he is ordinary, and thereby gain more connection with the pure name. So this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam is discussed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Adi Lila, chapter 1, verse 46. And this verse, very, very famous verse, Acharya mam virijani yan nama yanyeta kahichit namarcha budya suyeta sarva deva mayo guru. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. So this is explaining more about the very extraordinary position of our guru. And there's a beautiful purport by Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, explaining this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, but the purport is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila. A spiritual master is not an enjoyer of facilities offered by his disciples. He is like a parent. Without the attentive service of his parents, a child cannot grow to manhood. Similarly, without the care of the spiritual master, one cannot rise to the plane of transcendental service. The spiritual master is also called Acharya, or a transcendental professor of spiritual science. Manu Samhita 2:140 explains the duties of an Acharya, describing that a bona fide spiritual master, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my computer here where I've written everything. This is not a quality of our guru who can be so diverted. It's a quality, a very mundane quality. The spiritual master is also called Acharya, or a transcendental professor of spiritual science. Manu Samhita explains the duties of an Acharya, describing that a bona fide spiritual master accepts charge of disciples, teaches them the Vedic knowledge with all its intricacies, and gives them their second birth. A person born a Sudra is not barred from such spiritual initiation, provided he is approved by the spiritual master, who is duly authorized to award a disciple the right to be a Brahmin, if he finds him perfectly qualified. It's a very important point because many people believe that Brahmin is something that one is born into or has some sort of external qualification, and without that, you have to live with that your whole life. But actually, we are taught that this perfect spiritual master is able to take someone of whatever birth, and if he finds his qualities to be worthy of trying to become Vaishnav, then to give him Brahmin connection is even lower than Vaishnav, so no problem with becoming a Brahmin. Only out of his immense compassion does the personality of Godhead reveal himself as the spiritual master. Therefore, in the dealings of an Acharya, there are no activities but those of transcendental loving service to the Lord. He is the supreme personality of servitor Godhead. It is worthwhile to take shelter of such a steady devotee, who is called Ashraya Vigraha, or the manifestation or form of the Lord, of whom one must take shelter. The bona fide spiritual master always engages in unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By this test, he is known to be a direct manifestation of the Lord and a genuine representative of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Such a spiritual master is known as Acharya Dev. Influenced by an envious temperament and dissatisfied because of an attitude of sense gratification, mundaners criticize a real Acharya. In fact, however, a bona fide Acharya is non-different from the personality of Godhead, and therefore to envy such an Acharya is to envy the personality of Godhead himself. This will produce an effect subversive to transcendental realization. So this really helps us to understand even better why we want to be sure that we don't offend our spiritual master if we want to have connection with the pure name. Does anybody have any comments or any questions so far that we've been talking? Well, this point is explained very well by the prayers to the spiritual master by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, pointing out that all of the revealed scriptures accept the spiritual master to be identical with the personality of Godhead, because he is very dear and confidential servant of the Lord. Gaudiya Vaishnavas therefore worship Srila Gurudev, the spiritual master, in the light of his being the servitor of the personality of Godhead. In all the ancient literatures of devotional service, and in the more recent songs of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and other unalloyed Vaishnavas, the spiritual master is always considered to be either one of the confidential associates of Srimati Radharani or a manifested representation of Srila Nityananda Prabhu. So this is such an important point for us to accept. And it's not for us to consider that, well, he's so wonderful, he's so amazing. So I think that sometimes I'm going to go and see what I can gain from him. But actually, we're instructed to take this opportunity to be connected with such a perfect Vaishnava who is literally the same as being connected with the Supreme Lord. We're supposed to take very, very seriously, and this is, we have this human form, and so we have the capacity to do this. So it's for us to learn how to take this on our head and not deviate for a moment, ultimately. If we're sometimes trying to have his connection and sometimes we're not so enthusiastic, then the thing for us to do is to feel that enthusiasm to want to be purely connected at all times. Now, in Shri Guru and His Grace, in the introduction, Srila Guru Maharaj explains very well why we are to consider this connection completely vital. He says, to err is human. To err is inevitable for all, being not perfect. Still, no one wants to remain imperfect. There is an element within all that is animate that tends toward perfection. If it were not so, we feel no want at all. Our tendency toward perfection is certainly very weak and limited. Otherwise, we could attain the goal at once. Our limited capacity and tendency for perfection makes room for the guide or guru. So Guru Maharaj's use of the word perfect and imperfect here is so important for us to think very deeply about. We have a feeling that we're imperfect if we have any interest at all in having a guide or a guru. It has occurred to us that we are not always able to correct the problems in our life. Sometimes this brings us to a very bad state. But here's explained, we are imperfect. We do make mistakes, but we don't like that. Only a very arrogant person comes to the conclusion that it doesn't matter what kind of mistakes they make. They may hurt others, they may harm themselves, and if they can simply go on without being concerned about that or curious about how can I avoid doing that in the future, then they're not in the same platform of somebody who says, I don't want to be imperfect. I recognize that I am, and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. So that means that within everything that is animate, he says, that means living, every living being at all, wants to action. If not, then we wouldn't have any want. We would just go about plodding along from one animalistic type activity to the next. We'd probably only complain when there was some extreme pain. Otherwise, we have this tendency toward perfection, but it's not a strong tendency, and it's also very, very limited. That's why it takes us so long to do it, to feel like we're making any kind of progress. And the main point here is that this very limited and weak capacity that we have toward getting away from our imperfection, becoming more perfect, is what gives us necessity. It actually wakes us up to the fact that we need to have the guide or the guru. So it's actually all very good. The imperfect is not so if it is not in need of help, and that also from beyond itself. The perfect is not perfect if he cannot assert himself or help others, and that too of his own accord. So that points out the differences in us and our guru. We are imperfect because we need help from someone more than ourselves. We don't have that within ourselves. Like the sun is self-illuminating. It doesn't require to have a light shine upon it so that you can see it. And for us, we are not self-perfecting. We require someone outside ourselves to help us achieve that perfection. And the perfect is also able to create this for us and of his own accord. So, the guidance to perfection or absolute truth is necessarily a function of the Absolute himself. That means the Supreme Lord. And the divine agent through whom this function manifests is Sri Guru, or the divine guide. For a seeker of the absolute truth, submission to the Guru is unavoidable. There's a class of thinkers who believe, however, that when scientific research is possible, why can't higher spiritual knowledge also be evolved from within? Some people are ignorant of the most essential nature of absolute knowledge, that he, the Lord, alone is the absolute subject, and all else, including ourselves, constitutionally stand only as an object to his omniscient vision. It is impossible for the eye to see the mind. It can have some connection with the mind only when the mind cares to mind it. In a similar way, our connection with the absolute knowledge depends mainly on his sweet will. We must solely depend on his agent, or the spiritual master, through whom he likes to distribute himself. So there's some really important points here. If we want to know the absolute truth, if we have come to the point of seeing that this is the only way I can benefit myself, I have to know what is truth, absolute truth, beyond all of the little pieces of truth that I'm always taught, that I struggle, that sometimes get very master of. But if I want to know absolute truth, that is purely transcendental truth, and that is beyond me, then I must depend on the agent coming from the Lord, because I don't have that already. If I did, I would not be in this condition. And now I see who in West London is joining. And I'd like to see if there's some people who would like to make some comment. Every day. I mean, I can. Ah, how can we start listening to the Guru and not our mind? And I can't pronounce your name. Katepya? No, I shouldn't even try. This is such an important point. So first of all, we need to understand the difference in our mind and our guru and what he is speaking. So we have various levels of consciousness. We are spirit soul, part of the Supreme Soul, and we have coverings. The first covering, which is right next door to the spirit soul, is the intelligence. And after that, there is the mind. And lower than the mind is the senses. Now, the spirit soul is supposed to be assisting the intelligence how to get along in this world and to make decisions like come to the conclusion like I am not perfect, I am not capable of attaining perfection by myself, I require a guide. Then the intelligence will be explaining this to the mind, and the mind will be controlling the senses to support this path of becoming self-aware, aware of the self. And so, for example, our senses will be, this food tastes good, and I am learning about spiritual matters. At least I'll be learning about it originally comes from God. And that's why it's so nice, and he is making it so nice to give us assistance so that we're not suffering so much. And what we're usually being told by our mind, though, is if our mind is not listening to our intelligence, who is connected to the soul, if the soul is more sleeping, then the mind is not hearing such good advice from the intelligence. Therefore, the mind starts listening to the senses. And the senses are completely affected by the sense objects. Like we see this, anything, even just a flower, we just have to have it. And of course that leads to thinking that we have to have so many things that require money, require exploiting, requires taking things from somebody else. Definitely brings us to envy of those who have more. So that's a long answer to how can we start listening to the guru and not our mind. And we can start with looking up. We listen to our intelligence, and we try to grow our intelligence and purify it. We know that chanting of the holy name is cleansing our mind, and this is taking us upward. So that's why we'll do many practices like that. Even if we're not feeling like it, we still will do these practices, and our mind will become cleansed, and our intelligence will become more in tune with ourself. And that's who our guru is actually relating to, is our eternal self, the real us. I like to think about how many of our kirtans have mana. They'll be like Thakur Bhaktivinoda or someone is saying to do something which is good for us, and then they'll say mana after it. And when I learned that means listen to this mind, that's not just to strengthen this good advice, but it also is to help us realize that our mind and us, ourself, are different. The soul, which is sleeping, the intelligence is not very much awake, and we were hearing earlier about the mundane mentality. and all of the unfortunate results of having that kind of mentality, they're not thinking that they don't have to listen to their mind. But just the fact that our gurus are differentiating, they're talking to their mind, that means that our mind is not us. We are different. It is someone that we can talk to in the sense of it's our intelligence speaking to our mind. So when the mind is saying, go do something that we know it is bad, we can use our discretion. We accept that which is favorable. If it's not favorable, we can reject it. So that's how we can engage our mind. Its nature is always to be accepting and rejecting, sankalpa and vikalpa. So on what basis are we going to accept or are we going to reject? If we want to go up and listen to our intelligence, it will give us very good advice about what to accept and what to reject. But otherwise, if we're not listening to our intelligence, if the soul is rather sleeping and the mind is so covered up and so cluttered, then we'll be listening to the senses, which are telling us to pursue the sense objects, which are dull matter. So the very opposite of the spirit soul. Does anyone have some comments about that? Is there one new one? Oh, okay. Kamala Sundari. So this is vital for us. We can't take it too casually. And that's not like some sort of a bad news. We have to be so serious. It's not. Because Sriman Mahaprabhu is making it so that it's actually even a little bit of progress on this path is so full of joy. And compare it to something else. You may have some association who are not pursuing this path, maybe in your work or your school or somebody that you know down the street. And when they start to learn from just associating with you and seeing how you have so much joy in your life, you're able to face difficulties with more maturity, or like things don't really get you down so much like other people, then you can also reflect like, this is second nature to me now by the grace of my gurus. This is what everybody wants, to be able to get through life without being so bombarded, because life is very difficult in this age. But we don't have to be identifying with all of the downtrodden things which are going on. Does someone have some comment? Lavanya Moy in London, do I see your lips moving, but your mic is muted? There it is.
I wasn't actually saying anything. I was just saying, surely someone in this group has something to say. So many have never spoken, and we know that they've all got thoughts on this subject.
Yes. What I started off with is actually an introduction, but that's where we want to go to all the time.
Yeah.
Our mind needs to be introduced, because otherwise the challenges are, that's Maya's duty, to try to delude us into not going in the intelligent direction.
Yeah. It's all very internal stuff, isn't it? And we've got all our mundane stuff going on in there, and this
Yeah,
whole new conception coming in, and it's gradually pushing out the old ignorant way, but it's very deep and very gradual, isn't it? Which it should be, because it's like we're making a new path in our whole consciousness, really, isn't it?
exactly. It's actually startling. So, and it doesn't matter how long it's taking, the steadiness is slow and steady wins the race. So, we want to not deviate so much. It's natural to have some, misunderstanding takes us here and there, but hopefully not too far, hopefully back on track because of that all attractive nature of Mahaprabhu and his
Mm.
mission.
Yeah, just keep it simple and
Uh-huh.
clear.
Yeah.
Not too dramatic, not too over the top. Just because we're early days, isn't it? We're very early days for this
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
relative space and time. So, but I also know sometimes you can get very thinking about small things and small details of life. What would Gurudev want me to do here and now? And then that can get really like mentally like way too much. And it's like a lot of it is intelligence,
Mhm.
just clear, simple intelligence, isn't it? And then the bigger things is Gurudev, how we go about our actual devotional life, not whether, we, I don't know, maybe what order we do things in, those little things can get a bit like intense, and you just have to let that pass. And because Guru is revealing it in our heart, not that we could always be such a good receptor, we don't know, isn't it? Because we could be our mind, because the
Right.
mind can deceive itself
Yeah.
even. So
Yeah.
we have to, that's why we have to slow and steady, Guru
Yeah.
Maharaj is always saying, isn't it? And
Yes.
don't have to jump to a conclusion immediately. When Srila Gurudev, we asked him about tolerance, and it was recorded somewhere, but that's a long time ago. He said, and tolerating means not only like an awful situation, but everything in life, like ourselves and our failings and everything. To not to immediately react to a situation, but to look and see where Krishna is in that situation, guiding us,
Yes.
So even in our daily life, and it's not like we're even going to actually know that, but at least if we have faith
Mm-hmm.
that, that this is all, this is all good, and we're in the good hands, and
Yes.
yeah, we,
That's right. And that reading the environment, Krishna is revealing something, but even our gurus, we would see they wouldn't just immediately act on the first thing that would present itself. But this is where association with Vaishnavas, our daily practices, and reading Shastra, and just seeing how other devotees have done. We have so much to learn, but it's not like if I want to attain, a high level in academia, it's a long, difficult process, and I'm just struggling. I'm actually very, very happy the entire time.
yes,
There's
yes.
there's another question from Madan Mohini. It's very painful for me to see how much Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's body suffered from severe diseases and many other spiritual masters. I don't find the answer why they have such difficulties. And actually, this is explained as there, well, also, I have something that I found later in Sri Guru and His Grace that explains how the Guru, Krishna is manifesting as the Guru, but every single thing that our Guru is doing is for our benefit. And that includes showing us tolerance. Like, I remember hearing very close to the end of Srila Prabhupada's life, his manifest life, when we were always so sad to hear about his suffering. His suffering was great. And even to the point where he would be still somehow doing his translation service with someone holding a microphone, but physically suffering like anything. And someone asked him if he was ready to depart. This is a little bit like what you say to a person you might admire, but in a mundane way. You know, you may have had remember when your grandparent, you love them, but they're leaving. And so you may say something like that, are you ready to depart? And when Srila Prabhupada was asked that, he said, if Krishna wants to take me, I will go. But if he has some more service for me to do here, I'm happy to stay. So for the guru to come from the spiritual world and to the material world means that they are taking on the body of the material world. That body has suffering to go through. All material bodies have disease and old age and finally leaving. And the spiritual master is going to manifest like that. But it's not that he is experiencing suffering. Not like we are thinking. It looks like such suffering. But actually, it's simply part of his teaching his disciples. It's part of his extending his capacity to do this service and that service. Fortunately, we had Srila Guru Maharaj staying in his manifest pastimes for much longer. But he was about 98% blind. That's not happy. He couldn't go and open more temples and travel around, but he was constantly immersed in whoever he could, telling about whatever their question was and answering from the highest platform what is practical for any devotee who is seated before him. At the same time, he could jump to speaking of the most intimate pastimes of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, and who is Sriman Mahaprabhu and all of his associates. So that's what he is actually experiencing. And the same with Srila Gurudev. What the body is going through, they are detached from. As hard as it is for us to observe it, we don't like to see that. That's also part of our education. How can we be a better servitor? Is there anything that we can do to alleviate? The reason to alleviate his suffering is so that he can expand his service even more. Like the devotees who thought to hold those microphones to Srila Prabhupada's lips when he was unable to lift his head, could barely speak, but they would never hesitate to hold it there and record it and later transcribe, because this is what made him so happy. This service made him very happy. He always understood the necessity in the very few years, that he was doing this particular service, starting off coming to the West, and then getting so much assistance from people who helped him spread this message all over the world, and in the form of the books too. It is something to meditate on and to pray about a lot, to alleviate our own distress, to see how much they are suffering. But when we begin to understand that they're not really suffering, that's not their consciousness. If I get the slightest pinprick, my consciousness is that I am this body, this hurts, I'm suffering. This is a mundane mentality. There's another reason we don't want to offend such a personality. Such good questions and comments. I also wanted to share about the different types of guru. And still in Sri Guru and His Grace, in the introduction, Srila Guru Maharaj explains Sri Guru manifests himself mainly in a twofold way, as the director from within and the preceptor from without. Lavanya Moy was touching on this just a little earlier. From in our heart, that's how we first accepted our Guru, but constantly, every moment, we're looking for that direction from within. And he's also our preceptor outside, speaking to us. Both functions of the Absolute help an individual's soul, a disciple, to reach the Absolute goal. In our fallen state, we cannot catch the proper direction to the inner guide. So, the merciful manifestation of the preceptor without is our sole help and hope. But at the same time, it is only by the grace of the Guru within that we can recognize the real preceptor without and submit to his holy feet. So he's pointing out a position that the beginner disciple is always in. I think that I know something, I feel it very strongly in my heart, but we check that with what has he actually said through his other disciples who are our good friends, perhaps senior to us, or perhaps just giving us strength. This book it says this, and so we can rely on that, and we can compare that to our own feelings and that are within, and we can come to understand which of those internal feelings are the most trustworthy and the most helpful for us to make actual progress towards the Absolute. And Guru Maharaj says, a bona fide disciple must always remain fully awake to the fact that his highest spiritual fortune is but a gracious grant from the Absolute Lord and not a matter of right to be demanded or fought out. Constitutionally, we are equipped only to be proper recipients of God's favor. So we don't even have the constitution that we can say to our Guru, you have to do this for me. We remain beggars at all times. And also, it's very good for us to think about the difference in the initiating spiritual master and the instructing spiritual master. And Srila Guru Maharaj explains, the spiritual master always performs his function from the platform of an intermediate devotee, whether he comes down from the position of a first-class devotee to do the work of Guru, or does so as a bona fide intermediate devotee. Because the work of Guru is enacted from the intermediate stage, it is the duty of the Madhyam Adhikari to initiate disciples. A spiritual master may be one of three kinds. The first-class Guru extends 1 foot from the spiritual world into the material world and takes souls from here to there. The Guru in the intermediate stage is situated here, but he has extended 1 foot there, and he is taking souls to the spiritual world. The lowest class of Guru has both feet here, but he clearly sees the highest plane and is trying to take the souls from here to that plane. In this way, we may roughly conceive of 3 kinds of Guru. These are not 3 stages of Vaishnava, but 3 stages of Guru. And I brought this up because when we hear about the offense to the Guru, considering him ordinary, which we must not do, it's offensive to the holy name, then it doesn't say only if your guru is directly from the spiritual world. Like in this description, the first class devotee is descended from the spiritual world. It doesn't say that only if he is that type of devotee do you have to be careful about offending him. Your guru is your connection with the absolute. That's what we were hearing about before. And therefore, we don't ever want to commit any offense to our guru. It is very interesting to consider the three different levels of the guru, because, like, if they come directly as part of Mahaprabhu's pastimes, then would we even recognize them? So that's why such an exalted first-class devotee will act like an intermediate devotee and accept disciples. The topmost devotee will not see any necessity in any jiva soul. They won't see any fault. So how can they give instruction? How can they say, stop doing this, you must do this, like the kind of teacher that we're accustomed to having in this world to get our real help, to get us like firmly situated on a path. We want a teacher who will point our faults out to us. So that's why our guru will act like that. We must never think, though, they're exhibiting some fault. I remember hearing when people would say things like challenging people to Srila Prabhupada, then why do you wear glasses if you were perfect? Or if you were such a high soul, then make one apple appear before me now. One time he answered that, my perfection is that I can make that apple tell you, and I can tell you how to offer that apple to the Supreme Lord with love and devotion and make that apple into Krishna himself. One time when someone asked him, if you are detached from this world, why do you wear jewelry? Sometimes he would answer things like, because they are gifts from my disciples. They were given with love. But my favorite answer, and this was told to me by Vishaka there in London, Lavanya Moy, she's at Bhaktivedanta Manor now running that. And she was his videographer. And so she had such good example. But one time he answered that with, why are you so envious? So he could answer any way he wanted. One time he took his ring off and gave it to the person. No comment. So our guru is not a doll. It is not something which is carved out and has to behave in only a certain way. They have their individual personalities. But what is common is how much they're completely dedicated to serving Mahaprabhu's mission. That's why they're doing everything that they're doing. It's for the best benefit to come next. In every single moment, what is the very best way to serve Krishna and to engage? One other way that we can come to understand and believe that Guru is Krishna within us is that if we can reflect on how when we have some sincerity, make some offering that is at least somewhat sincere to our Guru, and he is a perfect Guru, or she, perfect Guru, they have no blockage in taking what we offer. They don't keep any of it for themselves, because that's not what they're doing. Like in the very beginning, it's not that the Guru is enjoying the facilities that are given to them by their disciple. Rather, they are just taking 100% of it and offering it to their guru, who is offering it to their guru, and it goes immediately to the Supreme Lord himself. And there's no time involved in that. And so when we make some sincere offering to our guru, immediately we're very, very satisfied. Our heart is just bursting. We may have come very distressed, but if we intelligently came to the conclusion, I should do something for my guru, and we do that, and then we see immediately we're so relieved, we're so happy. And that's because we have found that perfect guru who is not taking any of what we offered. And it comes, and Super Soul in our heart lets us know that. Our offering was accepted. So these are the kind of emphasis that we must never take our guru to be mortal. That would be very bad for us. That would mean that we have no idea who guru is. We have no idea who we are and how much we require that guide to give us assistance to get out of our imperfection, to get out of our constant frustration when we think we've done something good, but then another imperfection pops up, and it makes us feel so lost. We can get out of that by the grace of Shri Guru. Let's see if I have something else in my notes. I love to get these questions because I have to dive so deep to find out what our gurus teach us about this subject. It's swimming in an ocean to try to find the answers, swimming in the most wonderful oceans. Well, I did want to touch on the difference in the initiating spiritual master and the instructing spiritual master. And Srila Guru Maharaj says, the highest truth of Krishna consciousness comes down through the channel of Siksha Gurus, instructing spiritual masters. Those who have the standard of realization in the proper line have been accepted in the list of our disciplic succession. It is not a Diksha Guru Parampara, a succession of formal initiating gurus. Diksha, or initiation, is more or less a formal thing. The substantial thing is Siksha, or spiritual instruction. And if our Siksha and Diksha gurus or instructing and initiating spiritual masters are congruent together, then we are most fortunate. There are different gradations of spiritual masters. In the scriptures, the symptoms of the guru and the symptoms of the disciple have been described. The guru must be qualified in so many ways, and the disciple must also be qualified. Then, when they come in the connection, the desired result will be produced. So I love that he points out if the initiating guru and the instructing guru are together, then we are most fortunate. And of course, that's the exact position for any disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, and so many very sincere disciples of modern gurus who are following them, who are following the perfect guru and doing nothing but giving their guru. They're still getting the same connection, that perfect connection. And also we are told that our necessity for this is perpetual. There's never a time where we gained everything that we need from our guru, and so now we can just go on and do whatever we want with our life. But even if we are qualified to be a guru ourselves, we're never thinking that we left our perfect guru behind. Even in the spiritual world, we're seeing everyone is a guru, and there's a beautiful chapter in Sri Guru and His Grace called Land of Gurus. Guru Maharaj says there, Krishna tells us not to particularize in one point, Acharya Mam Vijanayan. There are so many Siksha Gurus in the line, and it is our good fortune to see more Gurus, to come to the stage where we see Gurus everywhere. Everywhere we shall try to draw the hints of the auspicious presence of Godhead. Krishna says, one who can see me everywhere and everything in me is never lost to me, nor I to him. We shall try to see him in every medium, then our position is safe. Not to see Guru is a dangerous position, but if we can see Guru everywhere, advising us to concentrate our energy toward the service of God, then we'll be safe. Of course, there is also a specific vision of Guru from whom I can get the maximum immediate help. But ultimately, Krishna says, I am the Acharya. See me in him. So this also emphasizes that we never have some feeling that, well, I served my guru, I got this, I got first initiation, I got second initiation, maybe I took sannyas or anything like that. So now I can go away and do what I want with my life. Maybe I'll become a professor in a college and I have this background, or write some book and I'll give my qualifications as I was a disciple of. No, we never will have that feeling. Well, no matter what, like we see in Srila Gurudev and Srila Guru Maharaj and Srila Bhaktiranjan Madhusudan Maharaj, he's returning here in a couple of days. We're so happy. We see the constant allegiance to the Guru, never making something up or giving something of their own little twist on what our Rupanuga Guru Varga is presenting. So we want to be in that safe position. And Isi Seva Rupa, you brought such a good conception to think about. I was very happy needing to go deeper on this point. So, mille grazie. I wish I could be with you all. Does somebody want to say something? We're getting to the end of our hour here. And someone has written something. Yay.
Yeah, so Lilavati there is asking in the chat, so are you receiving the answers from your guru still?
I could barely hear that.
Sorry, so Lilavati is asking in the chat, so she is asking, do you receive the answers from your guru still?
Do I receive the answers
From your guru? So still, yeah.
Without a doubt. I could not speak one word of even close to truth without their constant grace. That's one reason we want to take our daily practice, our sadhana, quite seriously, because we want to always be connected. And we like to notice those devotees either around us or perhaps online, or we can remember from the past those devotees who are always able to recall things that their gurus told them. And they reflect that. And what they speak is so enlivening. It's not academic. That's a big difference that you'll know. Somebody could know a lot of things, but they don't give inspiration. And Srila Prabhupada would always say, when people asked him if he missed Srila Saraswati Thakur, he would hold a book and say, he is right here. And so we also have that. Once I heard Srila Gurudev, one of his new disciples who was had to leave and get back to her job, and she had no devotee association around her. And she said, when I read, should I read Chaitanya Charitamrita or Srimad Bhagavatam? And he said, she was a brand new devotee, he said, you read the books of talks by your guru. So these, from the books and from our dear friends, are the way that our guru continues to talk to us. And like we were reading earlier, there's the connection in the heart, and then the guru is also externally the preceptor, and we constantly compare those, and that becomes more and more clear. And when we are more advanced, the more we hear our guru speaking directly to us, no different than if we were sitting in front of his physical form. So that is the kind of path that we're on. The path that we're on is prasadam and chanting and so much beauty. And it's also having such things be more and more alive in our heart. So our prayer is to become the servant of the servant of the servant. So if our guru's servant is talking to us, that is the same as if our guru is talking to us. What a joyful question, Lilavati Didi. Okay. All different times of the day. Some of you, I know it's a very difficult time to be sitting up. I'm very grateful to have had your association. For here, it's a nice time. It's just evening. All right. All glories to Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. All glories to Srila Bhakti Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai, and all of the gurus whose names I'm not remembering right now for you. Okay, be well.
Jai Srimati Kumkum Devi Dasi ki Jai.